morning, this is Tiffany with Self-Reliant Voice, and we are processing chickens today. We've raised them out for 7 weeks, and now we are going to process them today. Normally, I would have all this taken care of by now, but it was raining like the days of Noah yesterday, and literally it was like he had just gotten in his boat and the rest of us were screwed. So now I have to run out and go do this morning. So if you're interested in processing chickens, I would recommend getting everything done a day or two ahead of time, just because it makes the process go a lot faster. Now, you don't have to grow up on the farm to be able to do stuff like this. We are from Central Florida, and we moved to Georgia about 5 years ago. And now we have a farm, and we grow fruits and vegetables, and we process our own chickens. And a lot of that was because we wanted to be more self-dependent, self-reliant, and have more control over the food that we consume. And, you know, in case they came out with another lockdown or something like that, we would be able to get away from that. So it just gives us a lot more freedom and independency and privacy, you know, versus the way that they build these houses nowadays. So anyway, you don't have to grow up on a farm to be able to do stuff like this. You can learn it. And now, it did take us a little time to learn it, obviously, like you would have to learn anything else. But anyway, this is the purpose on why we had moved, was to be able to have better control over our food supply, of what I'm feeding my family. Now, I wanted to tell you that chickens are not all the same. You know, we are processing the Cornish cross, and I would say that they're probably not the most natural. You know, we raised them in 7 weeks, and they look like little gorillas, you know. But anyway, I had raised the Freedom Rangers, and they take a little bit longer. I thought they would be more natural, but I did not like the meat. The meat did not taste good, and they were literally like little football players. Like, we had to wrestle them to the ground. I mean, it was insane. So what you buy in the store is going to be the Cornish cross, which is what we're going to be processing. And that includes the Greenwise brand that you get from Publix. You know, all that stuff is still soaked in chlorine. You have to soak raw chicken in chlorine. There's no way around it, because of they start to stink literally within a day or two. And so, or they have to be directly frozen, which is what I do for mine. It gives us more freedom to be able to know exactly what we're consuming, because a lot of the stuff that you get even from the grocery store, you have no idea what you're consuming. So with my chickens, I will drive out of town and I go get the non-GMO chicken feed, and they graze on grass. And so they're as healthy as I can possibly make them, because I want to be able to feed my family healthy food. I don't want this fake lab-grown meat that they're selling in the stores, or you know like that chicken that you get in the restaurant that's like it's fake chicken. And so anyway, I don't like to feed that stuff to my family. So this is why we had moved out here, and we're going to be processing chickens today. And so if you want to see our process, stay with me, and I'm going to teach you how. All right, so we're here about to process the chickens. This is my chicken tractor here. Let me turn this around so you can see it. All right, so here's the chickens that we have here, and we have pulled them all the way up to the processing station to make them as close as possible, so that way we don't have to walk too far. All right, so here are our hugging combs. We already have one dripping here. We have the buckets down here, so that way all the blood drains out. All the blood, all the wings, everything gets reburied into the garden, back for nutrients. And we normally process 2 at a time. So the hugging combs helps to protect their wings, keeps them from breaking. You know, back in the old days, they would just kind of like pick them up and wring their neck. Well, then whenever they're flopping around, a lot of their wings would end up getting broken. This helps them to be more at peace, less stress. So before processing, they are completely stress-free. They also take normally maybe about 5 minutes to completely drain out. So by the time it gets over to the scalding station, there's no blood left in there, in their bodies, in their muscles. And in that way, it causes less bruising. If you get bruising, it's because you didn't allow them to drain long enough. All right, so we're going to put them in the scalder. They're going to be in here roughly about 45 seconds to a minute, just depends. The temperature is going to be 150 to 155. You don't want to have it too hot, or you're going to cook them. And if you have it too low, the feathers are not going to come off. So look, if you see the skin coming off, they're already ready. We're going to put them in the plucker. You have to continue to run the water as you're doing the plucker. I don't want to beat it up too much. The other one got beat up a little bit. Yeah, this one doesn't look bad. You can see I probably only ran it like 10 seconds. It just depends on the bird and how stuck the feathers are. You have a few extra feathers on here. Let me run it for just an extra second. All right. So let's take it over here. So here you have your bird. What we're going to do first is clean it up, make sure there's no extra feathers on here. We want to clean it the best we can so that way whenever you go to cook it, you're not going through the trouble on having to clean it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off the feet. Okay, there's a knuckle right here. Go through your knuckle. Now the smaller the knife it's better to have a smaller knife. However, this is what I got, so this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to save the feet because I like to make broth with it. It's loaded with collagen. So I'm going to save the feet. I'll come through here by the neck. Still see all the gnats. And I'm going to separate the craw. This is where they like to hold the food. They don't like to. They like to hold the food, and it's a little slimy, so you got to separate it from the esophagus. Because when you go to pull it through, it'll pull through a lot easier. So here, this is the esophagus right there. That has to be loosened in order to be able to pull it out real smoothly towards the end. This is the craw right here. That's where they keep the food, and they make that one sound that they make. So you want to completely get it all separated from the neck. Okay? Now you can cut off the neck if you want to make stews with it. You can save the neck bone. That's good. So here we're at the rectum area. You want to make a small slit outward. Make sure you go outward. You don't want to poke in because then you're going to hit the stomach, and that's where the salmonella and all that stuff is, and you don't want to get salmonella on your chicken. So make a nice slit. Run your fingers all the way across the back cavity. It's because you're loosening all the organs. Now, they should have fasted the day before completely. All you're going to do is you're going to give them just water. That's it. Because you want their rectum area and their intestines to be as empty as possible, because it makes it a lot cleaner, and you don't get like feces on your meat and stuff. So I'm pulling out everything I can. There is the lungs on the back of the cavity of the chest, so make sure that you get those. It's these things right here. This is the lung. You want to get those lungs out because it's embedded in the back. So make sure you clean it out as best as possible. Continue to pull it out. I feel the esophagus. It's a little stuck. There it is. There's the esophagus. It comes out a lot cleaner. And there's the other lung that I just grabbed off of the back. All right, ready? So then you're going to come through and you're going to make a slit along the rectum area here. And then you're going to go back up and cut it off. And that's it. Your chicken is ready. Here you have the gizzard. This is the gizzard here. A lot of people like to keep those and fry them up. That's where all the rocks and stuff is at, so you're going to have to clean that up here. These are the liver. These are the livers. This is the liver here. A lot of people like to keep these. You can either go fishing with it. You can fry them up, however you like to do it. Those are there. This is the bile. You do not want to pop that. It turns like a neon green color, and you want to stay away from that, so don't hit that. And these are going to be put aside. You can also save the heart if you want to. So we just got done processing our chickens, and there's a few things that I realized that I didn't go over that I want to be a little more thorough about. I was getting frustrated because of all the gnats. We have a commercial fan that we blow on us, but I had it off as I was recording so you can hear me. But being able to have that fan on, especially in South Georgia with all the gnats and the flies, are crucial. I seen this other video before I started, and like he was just kind of acting like everything is perfect and it's so easy, and it's not always that easy. And so being in the South, you have to avoid the bugs and the flies and all that stuff. So anyway, I got a little sidetracked and I kind of rushed through it a little bit. So one thing that was important that I wanted to point out was the table that I was cutting on. That needs to be adjustable. You need to be able to stand up straight to be able to cut comfortably. If you have a table where you're slouching over, you are gonna kill your back. Ask me how I know. The first time that I did it, it was a long process, and it took me about 7 hours to the first time. This time, because we had 4 people, we had one person at the killing station, one person in the scolding and the plucker station, and then I was on the cleaning station, and my daughter, she was catching the chickens for us. Having 2 people on the cleaning station is a good idea, just because it's a more lengthy process, and it just sometimes you can get kind of backed up. There is a garbage can that I had filled with water where my son was dropping them in, where if I wasn't able to keep up with them, he can put them in there, and that helps to keep the flies off of them. However, the colder the chicken gets, the harder it is to pull out the intestines. So it's best to do them fresh out of the scalder and out of the plucker, just because they're warm and it just comes out a lot more smoother. And then when I'm done, I go ahead and I rinse them again, and then I stick them on ice. Now, some people automatically like to go ahead and do the shrink wraps, where they just automatically will dunk the chicken in another scalder and they will shrink wrap the whole chicken. Well, I don't like to do it like that, and everybody's different, and that's okay. But the way I like to cook is I like to be able to have my wings, I like to be able to have my my drumsticks and my thighs and my boneless chicken, and so I vacuum seal everything separately, which is what I do the next day. So tomorrow, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be vacuuming sealing all of them separately, just because that's how I like to cook it, and it just makes it a lot easier and more enjoyable with cooking. Now, I am in a season where God is showing me patience and that sometimes things don't always turn out the way that you want them to turn out, where he's kind of taken away that perfectionism in me, where I want everything perfect and I want to be able to do everything in the way that I want to do them, because it's normally the right way, right? At least that's what we always think. We always think that it's that our way is always the best way, but when you're walking in the will of God and you're doing what he is calling you to do, it doesn't always turn out and look the way you think it's going to turn out. And so he's in the process on just teaching me to have patience, just trust his plan, and to trust what he has for me and the way that he wants it to be, because our way of perfectionism is everything's going to be perfect and like we're never going to mess up. You know, God's way of perfection is wholeness and righteousness and purity. And so whenever we're walking in his will, that's the goal that he has for us, and it's not always the perfectionism in the way that we determine it and the way that we would describe it. So anyway, I just wanted to encourage you to not give up, that things don't always look the way that you expect them to look, but God's plan always works out. It always works out. Even if it doesn't go the path that you expect it to go, it always works out. So anyway, I just want to give you that encouragement to not give up. Don't give up just because things get a little rocky or things don't turn out right, but just trust that God is working it all out for our good, and that everything is going to turn out just fine. So you take care. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you gained some knowledge out of it. God bless, and I will see you in the next one. One time I processed this rooster. He was a barred rock, and the meat was purple. But this rooster was so mean. He was like the spawn of Satan. I mean, he was like directly from hell. But he was such a gentleman. His name was Paco. He was such a gentleman to the ladies, where he was probably the best rooster that I've had for the ladies. But he hated everything else. Every dog, every cat, every human. I mean, he would run clear across the yard just to attack you because he thought you were a threat. So anyway, I shot him. But his meat was purple, and it was so gross. And so therefore, not all chickens are the same.